Alright, since I have been speaking about kata or form or anyo, depending on what systems you work, I would like to demonstrate the jo forms that we use in the Zenshin Aikido Aikijitsu class at this point in time. I'm sure that it will change because everything does. My system of martial arts is very eclectic and ever-changing. So anyway, because if you don't change it, it becomes stagnant and it's no longer viable for realistic self-defense and technique. If I find something doesn't work realistically, then it gets put on the shelf. If I find out that it does work, then it stays in and I adapt it to make it work better for me. So, Mawashite Kihon Waza Aikijo, the first technique. Now, this is the first jo form that we learn, and I will say this, and it somewhat goes against everything that I talk about, but I teach this in the Aikido class more out of the tradition of my teaching, or the way I was taught, than anything else. This was the only jo form that my instructor taught when I came up in Aikido, and I teach it mainly for the aspect of tradition, which is something I'm very negative about in a lot of aspects, but it does there is an application to it, and it does have a purpose in my dojo Aikido system, and I make that important distinction. Dojo Aikido, not fluffy bunny Aikido, but my personal dojo Aikido. Mawashite Kihon Waza Aikijo. Mawashite Kihon Waza Aikijo. And there we go. So that was it. That was the first jo form that we learned. And again, I've shown the application of this on many videos that I have. I don't post a lot of my videos publicly, but I do have many videos for my students to watch, and the application is definitely there for them. As a matter of fact, they don't learn, once they start learning this form, they don't learn anything else with the jo until they understand the application to this. Now the second one, Zenshin Aikijo Sonoichi. Zenshin Aikijo Sonoichi. So again, that's the second form with the jo. And again, you don't, once we start learning this form, you maintain it, and you also learn the bunkai, or the actual application that this is actually doing. Now, once you learn it, and once you get proficient and skilled, you start seeing other things. So if, for example, I teach this is a blocking of another jo that's coming at you. Alright? So that's how it's traditionally taught, is a block. But this can be a strike. It can be all sorts of things. If someone grabs this end, you're here. Someone grabs this end, it could be a throw. You're actually throwing them. You know, there's tons and tons of things, but you only see that after you get enough of experience to formulate it for yourself what it really is, because it can be anything for anybody, and it can be different every time. So then we have the third form. We have the Zenshin Aiki Juni. Now, this one is straight from the Filipino Kali Basic 12, and I just adapted it to the Jo for my Aikido class. Zenshin Juni. Zenshin Juni. So there we go. And then lastly, again, this is just the basic 12 using the Jo. And then lastly, we have the Zenshin Jusichi. Zenshin Jusichi. So that's the Jo forms that we use in Aikido at the present time. Okay, so now we have basic, Kihon, very basic. We have 5 Jo Waza. We have 5 techniques that each student needs to learn at present. Right now, most of the students are at low level. And now with everybody not being in class for so long, I think it's going to take even longer for them to continue, because most people who train in dojos, most I think, do not spend that much time training on their own elsewhere. I train all the time, every day, no matter where I'm at. And I think I would like to promote that everybody does that regardless. As you can see, out here training today. I trained yesterday, I trained the day before that, constantly training. So anyway, the 5 Jo forms, or I'm sorry, the 5 Jo Waza. So we have Jo Waza Sono Ich, Jo Waza Sono Ni, Jo Waza Sono Shi, Jo Waza Sono Go. I'm sorry. That was San. This is Sono Shi. And Jo Waza Sono Go. So what we're doing here is, with the first one, as they strike, we're going to mainly focus at the beginning on Shomenuchi. Strike down like this. It would be if you're using the 8 angles of attack as a idea of the angles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This would be a number 3, straight down, like so. Alright, so that's what we're using for the basis of learning the general idea of these weapons. So as someone goes here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step off at a 45-degree angle with an arimi, stepping in like so, and the Jo comes in and strikes to the stomach or rib area like so. Now it can also strike over, because this goes under the strike. It can also strike over and hit the head or face area. And if you want to get really creative, you can go kiza, and go down on one knee, and then you can strike up at like an angle 8. You can also strike down and strike at the kneecap or leg area, or even go straight down to the foot and strike the foot. You can do it any of these, but the basic general idea is to come in here. Now the same thing on the other side. Boom. Go top, you can go low, you can go down to the foot, you can go in kiza and go up. You can do all that. Now, Zenshin Jo, Kihon Jo, Sono San. Again, stepping at that Arimi 45. And we're going to use the right side. If we're stepping to your left, you're going to use the right side of this Jo. Again, it's coming down here. You're going to deflect it down and away here. Then you're going to strike to the side of up at their neck area. Then you'll step in and reach around and grab it, and their head will be in this X part right here. So you'll have them like this, where their head's in here like that, see? And then you pull them in and choke them. Again, same thing on the other side with Shi. Now go. It sits here in front of you. And when they start to strike down, you just place your foot on the bottom part of it, put a little pressure, like so. And when they strike, you'll simply release the top and it'll go down on their foot. Or hit them in the shin or leg. That's Jo, Sono Go. Just like so. All right. So that's the basic idea of the Jo that most of the students are at now. There's much more to be dealt with, but because most of the students aren't past this level, I'm not going to demonstrate anything past that level until the majority of my students are ready to see it overall. Okay, so now we have the Boken, which is a wooden sword, and we have the Shinai, which is a bamboo sword. So let me set the Boken over here real quick, and we'll begin with the Shinai. Now this one's been used, as you can see. This one here has been used. Now the tape is there because it's broke several times, and I've actually broke this on my students. Not being mean, but and not being super realistic, but they learn what it's like to make a mistake, and they learn what it's like in a real life situation if they do something or expect something that they're not going to really get. All right. So anyway, with the Shinai, we'll do these techniques with the Shinai. And again, Shomenuchi to begin with. We begin these techniques using Shomenuchi because it's the easiest, and for me, it's the easiest and safest way to teach them so that they can learn without being seriously injured. Again, these techniques work at any angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They work at any angle, but we're going to use this angle number 3 right here to demonstrate how they work, and that's how we teach them in class to begin with, so that the students basically have a safe learning environment. So again, Shomenuchi, we're going to do Boken, Sono each. Again, it's a Remi, 45-degree angle, stepping in. We're going to do a roof deflection, like so. Now, when this comes up, the blade is going to turn so that you're hitting with the back of the sword and not the blade part, because you don't want to chip your blade. As well, it's going to rest on your shoulder here. It's not going to be up like this, because then when they hit it, it'll slam into your shoulder. So it's actually going to rest on the shoulder at this angle here. Here. The strike comes in and down, and you do a little tenkan. You strike the wrist, strike the arm, strike the weapon. If they extend too far and they're way out here like this, you can strike the head. But when they come out here like this, you strike at the wrist area. You can strike the arm, you can strike the weapon, or you can strike the head and neck if it's in too far. But if you take that wrist off, they're done anyway. So again, Boken Sono Ich. Boken Sono Ni is exactly the same thing, except we're going to go off onto the right side of the body, or my right, sorry. We're going to go off to the right, and we're going to use this wing deflection. Here, again, it's not a block. I'm not blocking this. I'm not stopping the momentum. I'm allowing it to strike my weapon and go down. So I'm just deflecting it and redirecting it. Tenkan, again, striking the wrist is preferable, but you can actually strike the weapon and try to hit it out of the hand. You can strike the lower part of the arm. You can strike the neck if it's out too far. Whatever's available. We teach, we aim for the wrist first, and we'll get whatever we take. Number 3, Boken Sono Shi, stays in the sheath. Now, when we draw, we're going to roll it out just slightly, and then we're going to draw as we step in with the Irimi 45. And remember, Uki is using Shomen Uchi, and we strike the rib area, the floating ribs preferably, and it will slice through. Now, it should get stuck in there somewhere. Once it gets stuck, you take your free hand, you scoot in, you apply pressure and push. And that will either push your opponent away from you if you're using a blunted weapon, or it will indent the sword even further into the body, or actually push it through to the other side. Like so. Like so. Sono Shi, Boken Sono Shi, starts outside. We do not do a major amount of drawing of the sword. My sword work is not Aido. It is not the drawing of the sword. It is more Kinjitsu. It's what happens after the sword is drawn. So anyway, we're here. Now, they're coming down again. Shomen Uchi, Irimi 45. You're going to tap and deflect it from the top. Boom, goes away. Tap it and deflect it away. Here. Inside leg will step forward. You'll slice off the throat. Boom. Now from here, you have, if you go off to your left side, which I generally start, you're going to take your right leg, which is forward, and you're going to do a tenkan with your back leg in between your right leg and your opponent. And we'll step up here a little bit so you can see that. So here, here, then you're going to tenkan and slice the back of their body from their shoulder to their hip. Again. Like so. And then the fifth one, what we're going to do is, as soon as they lift up here to strike with their Shomen Uchi, as soon as they lift up here, we're going to strike in at their throat. And what we're going to do is, we're going to step in and go kiza, down on one knee, and then shoot into their throat. Push it through their throat. Now, once you hit their throat, lean forward and push it all the way through. So there are the 5. Again, we'll run through those real quick. The 5 Boken. So the 5 Boken Waza. So no ich. So no ni. So no san. So no shi. So no go. Now we have the Boken. Now, when you sheath your sword, the blade is up. So when you hold it, Boken or sword, you hold it with the blade up on your left side. When you draw it, what you're going to do is you're going to use your thumb and roll it out away from you, the blade away from you slightly. And when you draw it, your right hand will be on top and it comes out of the sheath like so. And then you can place your left hand back here. The left hand guides, the right hand is the power. The left hand guides it. So I don't use my right hand to move it up and down like this, it's my left hand. Or if I'm going side to side, it's my left hand that moves it. My right hand is the power. So I do not have my actual sword out here with me right now, but when I get time, I'll travel back to the house. I'll pick up my sword, I'll come out here, and we'll do this with an actual sword. So, Boken Waza. So no ich, ni, san, shi, and go. Alright, so using a live blade, I will do the basic 12. And I'll talk a little bit about the live blade. So we do not train the live blade a lot. My students aren't at a level where a live blade is necessary or needed. So most of them are not. So we do not train this a lot right now. But when I get my dojo set up, as far as being my own dojo and not working within another building and renting off of somebody, which is what I'm doing now, because I don't have free reign with a lot of stuff. So once I do get that free reign of my own place where I'm in charge of everything, then I can add more classes. One of the classes I am going to add is a live blade class. Now, right up front, I'm going to let you know I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form with the live blade. I will not say I'm an expert in anything, but if I were to say my least skilled area could possibly be the live katana blade. Now, I have not studied Aikido, the art of drawing the sword. My training has been in Kijitsu Kai, Aikido, and in that Aikido we trained Kenjutsu, and the Kenjutsu aspect is the attacks and the movements after the blade has been drawn. So if you're watching this video hoping to see an expert draw the sword, you're not going to find it with me. I'm telling you that right now. But we will be doing the basic 12 with a live blade. Again, what I'm going to do is, it's on the left side, and when you draw, you will turn the blade slightly outward. The blade will be facing upward, and you will turn the blade slightly. You will use your thumb to pop it open, just to open it just enough, all right? Turn the blade slightly, pop it with our thumb, draw it out, okay? Now, this is very tight. I'm using my belt loop. This is very tight, so I cannot pull the scabbard in and out, so I'm going to have to forego pulling the scabbard, and the blade is going to have to be placed back in a different manner than I normally do. So when I turn and draw, here, we do the technique. So let's say we're just doing a shomanuchi. Do the shomanuchi. Comes up to the shoulder, flick it down, getting the blood off of the blade. We are turning the scabbard outward. It rests on my forefinger. I roll it back until it gets where it needs to be, and then it comes in and it slides into the scabbard. Now, from here, what I really want to do is pull the scabbard towards the blade, towards the hilt of the blade. I can't do that with this because this is really tight, and it's not really usable in the manner that it should be with a normal gi and gi belt. So it turns, strike, blood off, back in. All right. So now we're going to draw, and we're here. We're going to begin the basic 12. Again, very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we're back. So that's the basic 12 with the live blade. Now, when we draw the blade, it comes out. My main draw is just coming in with this angle 1, like so. Okay. So if you're using the 8 angles of attack, you have the 1 here and you have the 3 here. So these are the 2 main drawing points that I teach and I train when I draw the blade. If I draw the blade, it's generally angle 1 or angle 3 when it comes out. Angle 1 or angle 3. So we're going to practice those. Here, angle 1, angle 3. Angle 3, angle 11, angle 12. All right, now I'm mixing those up. I'm adding the basic angles of attack with the basic 12, which I probably shouldn't do, at least with people who don't understand the angles and the directions that I'm working with. So maybe I should stop doing that. So angle 1, angle 3, angle 7, angle 2, angle 4. Then we can go back to angle 1, angle 5, the straight in shot, which is a 9, and here we go again with the number 7, number 3 again. All right. Any angles you want, it doesn't really matter. I can start with the angle 3, and then I can work the angle 7, angle 8, angle 4, angle 3, angle 7, angle 1, angle 5, and then I can do my straight number 9. So it doesn't really matter what angles you work and in what progression you work them in. The point is that you use these angles in various different ways so you can learn how to use these in striking. Once you get them proficient with striking, then you can begin to learn how to defend them. Now, I always like defending before I learn to strike, so you can do it that way as well. It just depends on what instructor you have. You can do them both simultaneously. It doesn't really matter. The point is once you begin something, really focus on that particular aspect. If you start with the strikes and you want to learn the angles and learn how to strike, just practice those until you get proficient before you even move on to anything else. Once you get those and you want to move into the deflections and the counters and the disarms and all that stuff, then work that. But I don't suggest you mix them all together simultaneously, because it can get confusing, and sometimes confusing makes people quit and it makes them learn slower. So if you focus on one aspect and stay on that aspect until you're comfortable and then move to a different aspect, maybe that's the best way for you to learn. Now if you learn where it can all be thrown in and jumbled together, that's fine too. As a matter of fact, when I first learned this, we had everything all together. There was no system, there was no organization to it. We just learned whatever we learned that particular day, and that was how it was.